Hey there, and good morning to you. Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with Friday's pre-market prep. Something I do for the pro members over at Alpha Wolf Trading every single day, along with post-market wraps and stocks to watch, all kinds of good stuff. And I always do it for free on Friday. So listen, if you have not gone to alphawolftrading.com, but you like what I do and you like the stocks to watch list that I put out on the weekends, go to Alpha Wolf Trading and sign up to receive the weekly stocks to watch videos directly to your email every week. All right. Um, so markets are basically flat in pre-market here. Uh, Most sectors yesterday were just really in a tight range. Um, Not a lot of follow through out there. Uh, the only two sectors that were absolutely on fire were healthcare and the IBB. Now we'll talk about the IBB in a second here. Markets in pre-market, we're looking at a little bit of weakness in the Nasdaq. S&P is basically flat. Dow's down just a tad. The dollar is basically flat. Gold is getting a pop. Had a pop yesterday. Don't chase the gap open on this. I mean, gold has been doing this where it pops and then it just doesn't get a whole lot of follow through after the market opens. So be careful there. And I'm really not crazy about the setup on the daily for gold or the miners for that matter, the miner ETFs. Oil basically flat. There is so much pessimism and negativity out there on oil that it's almost it's getting to the point where it's time to take a contrarian bet on the street, right? I mean, there is just a lot of negativity out there, but I don't know that you want to do that on a Friday heading into a weekend. Now, I have some small starter positions in my long-term hold account of some oil names that I happen to like, that I plan on holding for a long time. And just starter positions that I plan on adding to when I think maybe we see that capitulation fear flush in some of these names, and then add to my position, build it up a little bit, and then sit and wait for the turn, because I do believe we will see another turn in oil. I'm pretty sure it's not going to zero, so we'll see what happens. But uh, so SGYP, full disclosure, I have this stock. This is one that I did build a position into. Took a starter, went underwater, built a little, added to my position, and I took this. Now this is rare for me because it's a biotech, um, and I took it in a long-term hold account because I believe that this is going to be a great long-term story. So anyway, had a nice move yesterday, or actually over the last 4 days. Have a little bit of a lone wolf reversal candle here, anticipating scripts to come out this morning. If scripts disappoint, you could see a pullback in SGYP, and I'd be okay with a pullback as long as it holds above 425, 430. This was an area to try and get through. Um, I want to see if it can now what acted as resistance acts as support. But there has been a tremendous amount of hedge fund buying over the last month and a half or so in this name, and those guys are not buying it for a 20 or 30 cent scalp. I think they're buying it for a long-term hold position. So worth keeping an eye on SGYP. It's a higher risk swing, so you have to play it size appropriate. Let's see. AVEO is gapping. So, this had some news the other day, and it really didn't react to the news. Actually, it popped a little bit and then wound up flopping. And this morning, we got some more news, and I almost, you know, had to double check my glasses to make sure I was seeing things properly. Adam Foystein came out and actually said, I think, something positive about AVEO. Let's see. Here it is right here. Uh, Adam Foisting tweets AVEO CHMP opinion. Not sure how much TiVo will be used, but it's a nice turnaround story. So kind of sounds like he's being somewhat positive there. I don't know. And it's gapping. It's up to about $1.11 right now in pre-market. So look, I would not be chasing it. This is an area of price resistance. It has a tendency to be a pop and flopper, and it can also have some decent runs. But what I would be looking for here is potentially a pullback to an area of price support, and that could be somewhere around 95 cents, right? But there is a pivot at 80 cents. So maybe you look for a pullback to 80 cents, see if that holds as support, and look for a scalp opportunity or bounce. I'm not very familiar with the company. It looks like they also just got some financing from Hercules. And I'm Hercules sticks in my head for some reason, and I'm not sure that they are the greatest company to get financing from. But don't hold me to the fire on that. But it seems to me they stick in my head for some reason, and I don't know that it's a very good one. So AVEO though could set up for a day trade opportunity. And maybe it's potentially a higher risk swing as well. I don't know. I don't know that much about it. Or no. You know what? They didn't answer. I am so sorry. Sorry. So listen. Now, it doesn't matter. I just confused AVEO with a different stock. They did not get financing from Hercules. I apologize. I apologize. I'm going to be talking about that stock in a minute. So this one just has news and could set up for a day trade. My apologies. All right, let's. CBay just caught an upgrade, I think, with an $8 price target. It has been grinding higher. It pops and then it pulls back to the lower portion of the candle. It's piercing the upper Bollinger Band. It could just consolidate here in the $5 range. I don't know that it was getting any. Let's see if it was getting any action off of this upgrade. Very little action off this upgrade. Uh, it looks to me like this wants to consolidate a bit more before making a move. And let's look at the IBB real quick. So we have a candle that is completely out of the upper Bollinger Band, right? After a nice 4-day run, it would not be a big shocker if we were to pause here or even pull back and see some profit taking in this sector. So with that in mind, a stock like CBay, maybe we wait until next week to see, get a little bit of a pullback in the IBB, consolidate a little bit, work way back into the Bollinger Band, build a little base out, and then maybe we look for this one to break out. But could be a day trade there. Only 21 million shares in the float. Worth watching, CBay. Okay. Let's see. Trovenge was gapping up a little bit in pre-market, pulling back. It likely is going to have some resistance right around this 150 mark. Yesterday it popped and then it pulled almost immediately. We could see the same type of action in this one again today. Don't chase it. It does have a gap now on the daily to fill. Yesterday I was looking for a pullback to $1. Thought maybe that could be a good place to take it for a bounce off of $1. But pretty good volume yesterday, 7.2 million shares. We'll see if we get a follow through of that volume today. But worth keeping an eye on Trovenge for a potential day trade. Like I said, don't chase. Do not chase. BV, this had an interesting pop yesterday. It pulled back to an area of price support at 450 and then bounced. It had a little bit of volume yesterday. I'm so on this one actually because I think you're going to have some resistance around 5 and change at this trend line, at this price resistance. So the risk reward is kind of split here on this one. Look, if it pulls back to 450 and holds and bounces, then maybe you're looking for a five test or a test up to that trend line 514 or so. Then the risk reward becomes more favorable. But it has kind of an interesting looking setup on the daily. Uh, let's see. INSG. So this is overbought. Actually, somebody sent me this on Twitter, and I actually, I've been watching it. This is Novotel. It used to be Novotel. Had a little spike yesterday, right up into the 50-day moving average. Now it is overbought. Stochastics are starting to curl to the downside. I think this one becomes kind of interesting, maybe on a pullback to a buck or even 90 cents. Come back down and test 90 cents. Could be an interesting spot to take it for a higher risk swing, right? I think it's worth keeping an eye on it. Uh, you play it size appropriate. Only 43 million shares in the float, 12% short interest. Somewhat compelling look there. Neos. Now this had news that was positive news the other day. Had a pop and then pulled back. And I'm looking at it now and saying this is in a very interesting spot for a potential bounce. We're just over the 200-day moving average. Potentially looking at testing this trend line. Got the $7 holla that could act as support. So maybe a bounce and a break. This has only got 19 million shares in the float, 14% short interest. Takes out that trend line. I think you could get a pretty nice little pop in this one, but you want to see some volume to go along with it. So worth keeping an eye on Neos. VVUS, another one that I just like the technical setup here. Let's see if this is getting any action in pre-market. It looks like it does have some news. I like the technical setup here. There's been some insider buying between 108 and 140. Significant insider buying. It's right at the 200-day. This cluster of moving averages just over the dollar holla. Had a little bit of volume yesterday. Looking for a trend line break with some volume, with some conviction. Maybe we get a pop up into the $1.30 area. Maybe what you look for is a pullback to $1.10 or so, and see if that acts as support to bounce from, and then look for it to take out the trend line and get that 130 test. But worth keeping an eye on VVUS, and it may not happen today. It may not happen. If the IBV pulls back, maybe it just continues to consolidate into next week. Let's see what else we got here. SNCR, this is gapping up off of basically an acquisition. Looks like an acquisition offer of $18 a share to buy them, and it's gapping to about 16 and change. There is always the possibility that they are not wanting to be bought out for $18. I mean, this stock was 25 just not too long ago, and it was even higher not too long before that. So they could be acquired. I would imagine there would be some shareholders that wouldn't be very happy at that price, but this could be in play today. Worth keeping an eye on it. 37 million shares in the float. I would not chase the gap up. ATRS. So this is the one. This is the one that actually got the financing from Hercules. I've been watching this consolidate. I like the look of this chart a lot. It was just building out a nice little flag pattern just below $3. Now I've had two. Chardon came out and upgraded it with a $5 price target this morning, and then so did H.C. Wainwright come out with a $5 price target on it this morning. They just announced the financing with Hercules, so I'm not exactly sure how the stock is going to react, but I think it's worth keeping an eye on. I like the setup on this one. Had a nice run off of trend line support. Right, this trend line right here bounced right, came down, bounced right off of it. Now testing this trend line here, testing the $3 holler after consolidating a bit. Not a bad look. 141 million shares in the float. The CFO purchased 130,000 shares at $2.79. That was another thing that I happen to like about this one too. So worth keeping an eye on ATRS. We already talked about SNCR. BlackBerry was the stock that I was interested in this week for earnings. BlackBerry had a heck of a run in a short period of time. They reported earnings. They also announced a share buyback. I'm not crazy about share buybacks personally. Companies can do them or choose not to do them. Just because they announce it doesn't mean that they have to do it. I'm much more motivated by insiders reaching in their pocket and buying shares, themselves. But BlackBerry pulled back all the way down to about $9.80. It looks like it's bouncing a little bit here, recovering back to about 1060. There is a gap to fill on the daily down to the 200-day. I'm not saying it's going there, but it could. It's a thick stock. It's more of a swing or long-term hold. I think you could be patient and maybe wait and see if it pulls back to this $9.30 area where you've got some price support. See if that holds. If not, likely does come down and fill that gap. Maybe test that 200-day moving average. So I'm not saying it's going to do that. I'm just saying there's really not a whole lot of reason to jump into BlackBerry, I think, today. Let this thing settle down. All right. Let's keep moving here. I got to keep moving. HCLP got an upgrade today with a price target of $17. That's a pretty aggressive target from where it currently sits. It's an ugly chart. It's below the 200-day, below the 50-day. Shorter term moving averages are sloping down. Not super crazy about the look of this chart at all. Broke this trend line. It is at an area for potential bounce, price support, right? There could be some price support in this area. You could see a bounce. Maybe it comes back up and just tests the trend line, the short-term trend line, and some price resistance right around $12. I mean, that could happen. 42 million shares in the float, 17% short interest. So worth keeping an eye on that one. Some steel names caught an upgrade this morning, so you could, they're thick stocks. AK Steel and US Steel are worth watching, but I don't know that you want to buy them. They're thick stocks as well. I don't know that you want to really buy them heading into the weekend. Maybe there's a day trading opportunity there. We'll see. Worth keeping an eye on the space. All right, let me see here. Salt. I saw this last night on my scan. So there was an article in Seeking Alpha came out about TK shippers. TK. There's like 4 symbols for them. TK, TNK, TOO. Salt got a little bounce right off of the 200-day. Broke this little trend line. It's flirting with the 50-day. Maybe you get a red to green here. I don't know. 36 million shares in the float. There are a few shippers that actually look interesting. We'll see if this sector gets any action today. Could be a day trading opportunity in that space. Don't chase anything in that space. Okay? All right, let's keep moving here. NAT is another one. They announced a mixed shelf offering. TK. The article from Seeking Alpha was like, this is our best buy recommendation ever. Something to that effect. So worth at least having on the radar. Kara gapping off of news this morning. This is another one that I would be very careful with. It's already had a tremendous move over the last couple of days. And it's gapping right into potential price resistance. I like Kara. I like the long-term story on it. It's just had a really nice move already and potentially coming up into price resistance. Not saying that it can't set up intraday, just don't chase it. Don't chase that first candle because it's overbought and it's already had a pretty nice move in anticipation of the news that it just got. So AVEO we already talked about. BLCM also had news. It's gapping up into the $15 range right at the 200 day. It also has had a nice move ahead of the news. And let me see if. Let's see now. Okay, so it got up to 15. It's already pulling back, right? So I guess on this one, maybe look at $13. See if that would hold as. There's a pivot at 13.50 and 13. Looks like 1308, 1307. Maybe that could be an area where you see a bounce. I mean, it's worth keeping an eye on it. It's only 20 million shares in the float and 17% short interest in BLCM. Yext, this is a recent IPO. One of the pro members, happens to like this quite a bit. Is in it from 13 bucks. More of a long-term hold position. Morgan Stanley, I think, is involved with this, but it has an interesting look to it. Maybe a trend line break. It's only got 29 million shares in the float. Trades decent volume though. 13.5% short interest. Break over that trend line. I think you get a 14 test, maybe more. OCLR caught an upgrade, $14 price target this morning. This is a pretty good looking setup on the daily. If AAOI has a strong day, this tends to move in sympathy with AAOI. There's also rumor and speculation that this company is going to, as somebody's trying to buy them and it has had an offer of 12 and change. So throw that on with the fact that they caught an upgrade with the $14 price target, and you get, let's see, it's not doing anything really in pre-market, 965, but look for it to take out this trend line and maybe get a 10 test and roll. It needs some volume there too. I mean, this is pretty thick. For 144, it's got plenty of liquidity, so it's worth keeping an eye on. OCLR. Talked about IBD, talked about CBay. BDSI had some news. It's already pierced in the upper Bollinger Band. Let me see if it's getting any follow through here. BDSI got up to about $3.10 and it's pulling back a little bit. So this is a big spot at $3. It's extended coming up into that. That's what I don't like about it. So maybe it consolidates, maybe you pull back here, consolidate, build up a little energy before you try to take out that $3 roll. And KPTI had some news this morning too. I forgot about that one. It's not doing anything off of the news though. It does have an interesting look. It's only got 19.3 million shares in the float. A little bit of a pop yesterday. Potentially looking at a takeout of 10. I would be looking at this one maybe as just as a day trading opportunity. I did look it up. I think they are in need of cash. So day trade opportunity potentially there. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it. There's also an IPO, ATXI, that could be worth watching this morning. We have the Russell rebalancing today, so it could be, you could see a lot of volume. It could get volatile. We've had a big move in a couple of indexes heading into a weekend, so be careful. I have the sense that we could be looking at a pretty choppy day ahead. Doesn't mean you can't find opportunities, but don't force anything, right? And play size appropriate. All right, if you like what I do here, like I said, go to Alpha Wolf Trading and sign up. to have the stocks to watch video sent to your email every Sunday. All right, good luck trading today. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Don't chase, have a plan. Okay, see you next week.